Welcome to Fringe Pop 321, the show that believes the world is stranger than we think, but thinking should not be strange. One of the most popular theories about the Loch Ness Monster is that Nessie is a relic of the dinosaur world, specifically a long-necked plesiosaur. People whose hearts are warmed by cryptozoology, of course, love that idea, and young Earth creationists tend to also like it because they presume a living dinosaur would add weight to the idea of a very recent Earth. Well, our topic today isn't Nessie, but it is plesiosaurs, sort of. According to paleontologists, plesiosaurs flourished during the Jurassic period, roughly 200 million years ago. Plesiosaurs' fossilized skeletons were discovered in the early 19th century, making them some of the earliest specimens recovered from the world of the dinosaurs, at least in the modern context. But some would argue that plesiosaurs are still around. In 1977, a Japanese fishing trawler, the Zuiyo-Maru, hauled a strange carcass snared in one of its nets from the sea onto the deck. The location of the incident was about 30 miles east of Christchurch, New Zealand. The specimen was roughly 33 feet long and weighed 4,000 pounds. A production manager aboard the ship took 5 photographs of the carcass. He also took measurements of the specimen and removed 42 pieces of horny fiber from one of the fins. Unfortunately, the captain of the ship ordered that the carcass be dumped back into the sea, and it was. Photographs of the specimen circulated around the world since it appeared, visually, to be a plesiosaur. And the speculation raised not only the possibility that the species was not extinct, but that sightings of long-necked water creatures in places like Loch Ness and Lake Champlain were surviving Jurassic sea serpents. This speculation gained traction when a professor from Japan's National Science Museum stated in a Japanese newspaper that the sketch looked very much like a plesiosaur and that it seemed to show that they weren't extinct. In 1998, 2 more specimens that bore striking visual similarity to the Zuiyo-Maru specimen were washed up on a beach on the Kaikoura Peninsula of New Zealand as well. So the question is kind of obvious. Is there anything to this? Were these specimens plesiosaurs? Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, the Zuiyo-Maru case is one in which there were biological data that could allow a definitive conclusion as to what the specimen actually was. And the same is true of the 2 later carcasses, also from New Zealand. Shortly after the Zuiyo-Maru incident and the torrent of interest, Dr. Tadayoshi Sasaki, the president of Tokyo University of Fisheries, arranged for a group of scientists from various fields to carry out a thorough investigation of the available evidence. And their results were published in January 1978 as a collection of 9 papers. This collection of papers is actually available online, and you can access the full report at this episode's website page. So what did the investigation reveal? Well, the collection of essays showed conclusively that the Zuiyo-Maru carcass was, in fact, a decomposing basking shark. Now, these reports have a lot of data that, again, you could read for yourself, but I'm going to give you a few samples of what was discovered in this study. Photographs revealed a lack of a neural spine, which is consistent with sharks, but not with plesiosaurs. Remember, again, we have plesiosaur skeletons that can be compared to the photographs of this specimen. The number of cervical vertebrae, for instance, was inconsistent with skeletons of plesiosaur fossils. The horny fibers taken from the fins are not found in marine reptiles, but they are part of shark anatomy. Again, you can look at a close-up of the photos and establish that point and see its basis. Though a dorsal fin is not evident in the photograph that you can see here, a close-up of the photo revealed the base of a dorsal fin that had, in fact, decomposed. Of course, plesiosaurs do not have dorsal fins, but sharks do. Most telling, though, was the amino acid report on the biological data. There were literally 19 points of analysis of the biological material and its amino acid composition and every one of them matched the basking shark. Now one might wonder, despite the amino acid analysis, how the carcass could be a basking shark. I mean, if you look at that picture, you just wonder, how in the world do we get to this from a shark? Now the key is to understand the process of decomposition in a basking shark, especially the gaping mouth. Now much of the shark's undermouth portion and dorsal fin will decompose rapidly before the rest of the skeletal structure. The result will resemble a plesiosaur. It's very easy to see, if you understand the decomposition process, how the end result could deceive people into thinking that we have a plesiosaur. And this is why cryptozoologists and scientists refer to these sorts of specimens as pseudo-plesiosaurs. Again, there have been several of these. People aren't typically familiar with the remains of a decomposing basking shark, though. But plesiosaurs, again, are part of the popular consciousness. And so when you find a specimen of this nature, it's very easy for our mind to just leap from one thing to the next. Now, I have to admit that this is one episode of Fringe Pop 321 that really makes me sad. My first book report in 7th grade was on the Loch Ness Monster. I am pro-plesiosaur. I desperately want them to be still around, and I want Nessie to be one. But we just don't have any evidence for a plesiosaur conclusion, either in the case of the Zuiyo-Maru or the Loch Ness Monster. So we can hope, but as for right now, this is what we have. The specimen here was a basking shark. Thanks for watching Fringe Pop 321. Please visit our website for information on this episode and, of course, all of our episodes. That's fringepop321.com. And if you want to support what we're doing here, please visit fp321.com/S, as in the letter S, and support us on Patreon. Thanks again for watching, and come back and watch more episodes, because what you know may not be so.